Another episode of Sports and Songs podcast. We're on season 4, episode 43. Andy, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Doing good. How about you?
Good. It's a sports edition. Today is September 4th. Happy Labor Day, by the way.
Yes, we always work here. The offices were open today.
We don't have holidays off here at the studio.
Yeah, we had some off recently, but town ball finals today and other things starting up.
Labor Day is always big in the sports world. Labor Day weekend is, and Labor Day itself is here in the great state of Minnesota. Always a big weekend.
We had to pay that time and a half today, but we got them out there.
There's lots to keep up with. So let's start off with the trivia question, then we'll roll right into the sports action. This trivia question is, it's football related.
Okay.
And we're in football season. What year, Andy, did the Penn State Nittany Lions join the Big Ten? What year was that?
I got to think on that one.
Well, that'll be the answer. So go ahead for the listeners out there. Google that answer if you want. But Penn State joined the Big Ten, and I think that was one of the first teams that did. And then over the years, more and more teams, and now 2020.
And they were independent at the time, I believe, too.
I think so. They
didn't leave a conference; they were independent. So
okay, but that's a good question. There's a backstory to why I'm asking this, which is going to be good. We'll cover this at the end of the episode. But let's get started with your slideshow, Andy. We'll see what's all going on in the world of sports. What have you got? Ooh,
my little corner of fun. I just try not to be a homer when I say this. Starting off with the soapbox here. As you know, Eastern Washington was in town to take on the Bison.
Okay.
I get it. You got purple seats. It's the Vikings. Rah, rah, rah.
Yes.
You couldn't vacuum up your little horned guy and put the Bison logo at the center. You couldn't put NDSU's information in the end zone to keep Viking stuff. They don't play for another week there. Don't tell me it's that hard to vacuum up and redo. Wow.
So they just had if you look there close on his image, it's the Bison logo on the 35 yard line, something like that, and both ends. But that's it. The rest of the field is painted Vikings. Okay, it's at US Bank. I get that, but it's odd.
Yeah, keep your school Viking banners. I'll give you that around the sides on the padding there. I get that, but they keep the Viking logo out even for the high school tournaments. Okay, maybe for high school they're not playing the pro field, but maybe at least put the Minnesota State high school football logo in the middle or something. You can't tell me you can't wipe that stuff up and redo it. I just find that hard to believe.
You've said that in the past, Andy, and what he's talking about is the Prep Bowl. For the Prep Bowl, it's a full, a 2-weekend thing when the Vikings they're out of town. And they play with the Vikings logo on the field. Couldn't they put the Minnesota State High School League or something on there for all those games at 50-yard line or something? But they maybe have a deal or a contract, and maybe the Bison did here too. But this was the first ever college football game played at US Bank Stadium. This was a pretty big deal, and maybe they said, leave alone. It's too much man hours to get all that cleaned up, and just put the smaller ones on the sides. So good question.
If you look down,
I don't know this
between the numbers and the sideline and the 25. I'll give you the NFL logo there. It's an NFL stadium. I'll give you that. Keep that there. Yeah. Totally get that. But it's not like the Vikings or US Bank Stadium invited the Bison down. Now, if you're coming to my house, don't you want to make them feel like home? The University of North Dakota State University got at least $350,000 for their game.
Oh, I see. Okay.
If they sold 30,000 tickets, they get $450,000. They hit 35, et cetera, it went up.
Okay.
So they got a nice cut. You could afford to pay them that for 20,000 people. And you go, wait, the Bison got $350K just for playing the game there. I saw some numbers a while ago coming up. When they played Arizona last year, they got like $450,000. And next year, they were supposed to have that home and home with Oregon, but COVID hit.
Okay, yep.
Next year, The Bison open up on the road. Coach Prime's house.
Is that right?
You can't tell me that's not a great marketing thing for recruits right now for the Bison. Not that they need it, but my God. And we'll get to Coach Prime later. So if you watched college football the last couple of weeks, they have a lot of extra timeouts and commercials now. And Chip Kelly was not very happy with it. Chip Kelly to ESPN at halftime. These new rules are crazy. We had 4 drives in the first half. Hope you guys are selling lots of commercials. So Chip Kelly, I don't think will be on the ESPN panel anytime soon.
So what does the time have to do with how many drives he had?
Well, because they stop the clock all the time. So it kind of kills momentum.
I see. So in addition to the timeouts that they get, they're stopping it for media timeouts.
Yep. College basketball.
Okay.
If you watch a college basketball game, that starts. If no one calls a timeout after so long, there's always a media timeout so many minutes in. Hope you're selling lots of commercials, boys.
It's all about the TV, the broadcast, the networks.
Now, Puddles, Oregon mascot, he does 7 push-ups for every touchdown push-up for every point.
Okay.
So if they hit a field goal, he does 3. To score a touchdown after that, he does 10. Well, they won 81-7. He did 546 push-ups in costume to set.
Wow.
Poor little guy.
Well, that is a lot of work. And I don't know what the temperature there was. Was it warm?
I don't care. He did 546 bloody push-ups, man, in a mascot
uniform.
I want to see a little Notre Dame guy try that.
That thing's crazy hot in there.
Yes. I wonder if they don't change out guys every so often or something like that. He has a stunt mascot. All right. FCS, here's the top 10s, how they all fared. Everybody was a winner in the top 10 except number 7, UIW. They lost to UTEP.
Okay.
UTEP being the bigger school probably affect them, but shouldn't. But there you see South Dakota State won 45-7 over Western Washington or Western Oregon. The Bison beat Eastern Washington, etc., etc. Montana State won. Billy and Mary won. So only the one loss for the top 10 there. And the big schools top 10, everybody was a winner except LSU, but they lost to other ranked teams, so that's not too bad. But the fun has begun. The fun has begun.
It's a long season. It's what, 14 straight weeks of college football, and teams play what, 12 games?
Yep.
In that mix or something.
Now, number 17, TCU Horned Frogs lost to Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes.
Nice.
If you look at the score, that was a good game, man. Look at 7-0, 17-14. This evenly matched game the whole way through.
Yeah.
Coach Prime and the boys came back at the end. Now, I'm not saying anything, but I think it was a good meal at the Sanders house afterwards. Because this boy threw for 38 out of 47, 510 yards, 4 touchdowns. This other son on defense had 9 tackles and 1 assist.
Okay.
I think Coach Prime's house ate good that night.
Wow. Look at the stats. That is good.
I don't have a stat of it here or a picture of it here, but he likes to go by Coach Prime. We've covered that here. Mr. Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes, put up on Twitter, hey, Dion, nice going in your coaching debut. And he goes, no problem, Pat. And he signed it Coach Prime.
Well, it wasn't his coaching debut, right? But it was Colorado.
His debut in the big schools,
Okay.
Hey, nice first game of the season. Dion, he put Deion Sanders on there. Dion replied, no problem, Pat. Then signed it Coach Prime. Got a little dig in there. So, Mr. Mahomes, you may be a veteran, but it's Coach Prime we're talking about.
Exactly. Well stated. It's a veteran move.
State tournament, like we said, ended today, or last night and today. First of all, congratulations to Air Freight, claiming the Class B title after claiming 21 Class A last year over So they won that over in is that Dassel that game was played at?
That was at Dassel. They beat the Indians from Class
last
B.
night.
Yep.
And they don't have the team picture yet, but congratulations to the Maple Lake Lakers who won this afternoon, Class C title. So
yeah, they finished the season the 10th ranked team in the state, and knocked off some heavy ball clubs along the way. And
because we were at the Jordan game, they won that one. Beat Bluffton, which we hung around for, but who they beat? They beat Sartell. They beat so that was a pretty good game. They got Sartell, and then they just fought uphill the whole way.
They beat Sartell. Yeah, they beat Cortland Cubs. They beat the Union Hill Bulldogs. They beat Sartell Muskies, Jordan Brewers, Bluffton Braves, and finally the Bird Island Bullfrogs to win it all today. Yep. The all-tournament team was named. The MVPs were given out. Some great baseball. The attendance was 28,000 people, Andy.
Jeez.
Now, it's an asterisk because that's 3 weekends, and it also includes this class in Class A, which was separately recorded all the previous years. So, of course, they had huge numbers.
And you had that extra weekend in Waconia because the other class added and stuff. So, but
so they did well. Now we're going to see this. Now they're going to have numbers to compare for next year.
Yeah, now we can compare apples to apples. Yeah,
they're going to try to do all they can now to beat that number. And the hosts next year are Jordan. They'll play in Green Isle.
And everybody was going to be better numbers because Delano should have made it. They lost the first game yesterday. Imagine if Delano would have been in with this nice weather, what that number would have been.
Yeah, that was their plan. They were the number 1 ranked team in the state playing at home, and people just assumed that they would run that table and get in there. And boy, when they did play, the crowd was packed. One of those nights was 1,200 people for a single game. But the other games, there are 500, 600, 700 fans are showing up for these games. It's big news. But then Delano gets beat, and now you get some of these out-state teams in there, and fun stuff. Very fun.
Yeah, like we said, they planned it with Delano there. Like we said, they've planned the sites for next year, so it's not like the season ends. They go, hey, what 3 cities can we put it in?
Yeah,
it was just the perfect storm. Delano was the 1 seed. They had home field. And
they're picked 3 or 4 years in advance the site. So the way that this rolled is having Delano be that good this year, knowing that they would have a chance to play at home for these games. But boy, Maple Lake going 6-0 in the tournament.
Yep.
Wow.
So like you said, Jordan and Green Isle hosting next year, 2 of the host cities. There's a nice little incentive for all year long,
And Jordan's going to be good, so they're already sitting on a jackpot to be possibly playing at home. Belle Plaine is kind of a higher average team, maybe even higher than that. But that's the incentive. Now they're going to have a good team next year just because people want to get on that team, play on that team, and say, hey, we can have a chance to play at home. And Green Isle already was in the state this year. And so if they get a chance again to play, these are 3 locations that really draw fans.
Yep. We shall see. Major League Baseball, let's go through some standings here. They got Baltimore in first, Tampa second. The rest of the little happy group there. Central, Twins, 71-66. Does not look like they're going to win 21 more games this year.
Well,
Cleveland 5 games out.
It'll be a tough stretch, but they've got it'll be tough. They could possibly do it.
If you see after Kansas City, they are mathematically eliminated.
Yeah.
I did not have the magic numbers today when I started this. I apologize.
We'll know more.
Seattle and Houston are tied. Texas a game out. There we go. Oakland mathematically eliminated. National League, Braves, Phillies, Miami. The Mets have passed Washington to be 4th place. Let's go Mets. Central, the Brew Crew, 3 games up on the Cubbies. Reds 6 out, still in it for the wild card. And in the West, Dodgers, Zona, as we call them, and Giants. Here's the playoffs for today. Orioles and Mariners are your 2 buys, and the wild card would be Twins, Astros, Rays, Rangers. National League would be the ATL and the LAD getting the buys. the Brewers would play either the Giants, Diamondbacks, Marlins. They'd have to do the whole tiebreaker situation, which we're not getting into because we still got 3 weeks left to worry about it.
Yep.
And then the Phillies and Cubs, which sadly enough, Phillies and Cubs would be a good series. Two gritty teams going at it there.
Oh, yes.
And here's the wild card standings. It's Tampa, Texas, Houston. Toronto, a game and a half out. Boston, 5.5 out of that last wild card spot. In the NL, it's Philly and the Cubs. Then there's the tie between Frisco, Arizona, Miami, and Cincinnati. Then San Diego's 5.5 out in it, but just because they want to be nice to them, they list them. A few more sports notes I got here before we get going on other stuff. Hockey leagues in Europe are going to make the refs do interviews after games to explain calls. I wonder if you ever catch on here with football or basketball or something like that.
It's a nice idea. Wow.
You know, what are you doing there? So we'll see how that works. University of Nebraska women's volleyball drew 92,003. Most attended women's sporting event of all time. They played at the big house, the big red house there in Nebraska on the football field. 92,000. Now, I know for a football game, I've heard the numbers, and this is no lie. I think if that football stadium sold out, it's like the second or third or fourth largest city in Nebraska when that stadium sold out. So if you threw a few more people on there, and I was reading that was basically 4% of Nebraska's population was in that stadium.
Jeez, wow. And it was outdoors to play volleyball, and wow.
Outdoors. Nebraska women's volleyball set a high mark for women's sports attendance Wednesday with more than 92,000. 93. Those three guys are upset. Mention their numbers. The Cornhuskers broke the record set by FC Barcelona, April of 22, when they had 91,000+ attend the team's championship league semifinals. The idea came when Nebraska's football stadium came from a regional rival with Wisconsin after the Badgers set the volleyball record when they played in the basketball arena. Now, if I've ever been to the volleyball arena at the U for Minnesota, it is a little smaller than the basketball one. No offense. Why put all the extra lights in there if you're not going to draw the fans? But they played in the basketball arena and drew some fans. So Nebraska said, hold my beer. They gave students the day off of classes for volleyball day. And they showed up in force. The previous U.S. record for a women's sporting event was 90,185 at the Rose Bowl for the 1999 World Cup.
Okay.
Is that when we slid and took her shirt off? That Brandy Chastain?
Boy, it could have been.
Yeah. Don't ask why I remember that. $25. I looked up what were seats prices. It was $25 for every seat. $5 for high school and younger. From standing room to field, all tickets, $25. They sold 92,003. Do the math. They made out okay. I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. Drew McCoy of Texas, with his NIL deal, will provide an AED cardiac arrest awareness through the Huddle for Hearts campaign. So for every one TD, this company has to donate an AED device. Well, so far he's got 2 catches for 21 yards, no touchdowns. I don't care if he scores 1 touchdown or 50. The fact he signed this deal, hats off, young man. Hats off.
That's a great thing to do there. Number one, to raise awareness. Number two is that he's actually doing something, for the good. Something.
Yep. I got a couple of different stats of the week. One's an 80 stat, one's just a cool stat. So here we go. In 1989, at the age of 42, Nolan Ryan averaged 127 pitches a game with a high of 164, which came 5 days after he threw 150. Just look at those numbers and then read the box scores tonight after all the games, who threw how many pitches.
Exactly.
Tony Gwynn batted 69 times, with runners on second and third with 2 outs during his career. He never struck out.
Wow. I mean, just think of that.
I mean, I don't care how good a contact are. You figure there'd be one in there somewhere.
Yes,
I mean,
you have to sprinkle in a few.
Often, but Jesus, man. Yeah.
He put the ball in play every time.
He could have gone 0 for 69. I don't know. They don't have that stat here, but just he never struck out.
Yeah, contact hitter.
Little NASCAR news here. Last night, late night, Kyle Larson wins the Cookout Southern 500. In the playoffs, 16 rounds. They do 3 races and drop 4 guys, so he's locked in with a win.
Okay.
Next Sunday, it's the Hollywood Casino 400 at the Kansas Speedway. So here's the brackets. The bottom 4 out right now are Bubba Harvick, Stenhouse Jr., and Michael McDowell. Top 2 barely hanging on. Joey Logano's only got a 3-point lead. Christopher Bell 1 up. So Bubba's only 1 behind. So, he's only 1 behind. This guy's only 4 behind. There's only 3 races. Kevin Harvick won the first 2 stages and was doing well. And then got caught in a speeding penalty. What happened real quick? During crashes or yellow flags, they close pit row. You can't come in. You have to stay on the track for the yellow flags. But if you're turning off to go onto pit row and you pass the commit line, you have to go. Well, he was at the point of no return where he's crossing that line or not when the caution came out. So he got penalized, had to drive through, threw him at the end of the pack. He just never caught back up, hence the low points and low standings. So it is what it is. It was like we talked about the town ball rules. It's a rule. Once a year you see this happening to some guy, and it just happened to be him. He will bounce back. WNBA playoff picture standings projections. Lynx, after their 0-6 start, are in.
Okay.
Thank you to Jeremy Kwas for sending me that on our Facebook page this morning as a reminder. So they start 0-6. And like we said at the beginning of the year, they were 0-6, but I think they lost by a total combined like 13 points in those 6 games or something like that.
Close games, yes.
So they're in, and here's the standings. Top 8 make it. So they're in at 19-19. The other bottom 3 are eliminated. So the Sparks and the Sky are kind of battling. The Dream could, Atlanta Dream could trip on their own feet and not make it. But them and the Mystics are probably all but in. But a couple weeks to go, we shall see. And I do have one birthday I want to announce today. And today is the birthday. We don't talk age here, Dan.
No.
We just like to say happy birthday. Friend of the show, happy birthday, Kip Kovar.
Oh.
Kip had the day off today. He just sat and enjoyed the game today. He got to be like us fans and sit and enjoy a ball game as a fan. So,
well, happy birthday, Kip.
Man. I wonder if he had to pay the $10 deposit for the bucket. You think they just gave him that, or he had to pay the deposit?
Well, probably the deposit.
He probably paid the deposit.
Pretty stingy on that, yes.
Well, they're a pretty hard and fast rule. We'll see. Yeah, I was thinking.
Okay.
That's a picture of me pre-COVID there with my Mets shirt on at Target Field.
Okay.
Because next weekend I will be at the Mets game at Target Field. There's a picture of the shirt, the Army, going big in Minnesota, doing a pregame thing down at Inbound Brewery.
Okay.
We're all meeting there beforehand. If you want to come down on Saturday, we shall be there.
What time is the first pitch of that game?
It's an afternoon game, so it'll be 1. So we'll probably be down at the brewery about if they're New York fans, probably about 8:39 in the morning. And
perfect.
We'll be down there later. What?
Well, that'll be fun. So you'll report on that then next week, how that went.
Yes.
Both the game and the atmosphere and the crowd and the pregame and everything
There'll be
else.
Pictures of me and my Mets brethren.
Brethren, yes.
And that's all I have, sir. That's all I got. That's all I got, man.
Well, we've got some. I've got some things here to bring up. You may have some opinions on this. We have It's September 1st last week, of course.
Yes.
And so Major League Baseball has this thing called the September call-ups. It used to be a huge deal. Players come up, rosters expanded, all these guys in the dugouts. I did hear overheard some people talking at the baseball tournament, and it's only 2 players. In the past, it was a handful of guys that would come up.
Yeah.
Recently, they just adjusted it to 2, and so every team really just brings up 1 pitcher and 1 fielder, 1 defensive, or a position player. That's all that it is. So it's not that big of a change as it was before. You're still 25-man roster. You get 2 extra guys, extra guy in the bench, and extra pitching arm. It's really not that big of a deal. Now, the Twins brought up Andrew Stevenson, arguably the MVP of the Saints this season, with all the numbers he's putting up in the bases he's stealing and the home runs. He's hitting for power, hitting for average, stealing bases, really good arm in the field, and is basically doing it all. So they could have brought him up sooner, just because of a promotion. But the Twins are very heavy in the outfield. Where are you going to put him? Who's going to get sent down? What's going to happen? So they brought him up. Good promotion. Hats off. Well, good season from him. He's a veteran that's been around, Andy, and has played for other teams and got dropped, designated for assignment, DFA'd. Twins picked him up. He's not a young farmhand, young guy, but he's been around. Good veteran to have on the team. Congrats to him. Now, the Twins also brought up, not as far as it was part of the move, is Louis Varland for pitching. Louis Varland came up, a longtime starter, always has been a starter, very good, local St. Paul kid. They brought him up in a corresponding move, though, sent down, Cole Sands is who they brought down. So another, Cole Sands is a starting guy they've used, no room, too many starters. All seasons he's been pitching out of the bullpen. He's always been a starter, though. So long inning kind of a guy, long relief. Louis Varland will do the exact same thing. He will not start. There's no plan to start him at all for the rest of the season. Too many starters. So he's going to change his role for the rest of the season to be a long relief man, middle relief. A lot of problems in that middle relief bullpen issue with the Twins closing the door, shutting these guys down. So Varland should be good. Postseason kind of a thing. He also would be good there in the bullpen. But don't believe he's there to stay. He is a starter. Twins did announce when they brought him up that his role this year will be in relief. Next year, he will be back to his starting pitching. So that will be good. Football. The Gophers won national TV against Nebraska. Wasn't impressive, wasn't big, but a win's a win. It was close. It's exciting at the end, and I've seen comments ranging from, 2 defensive teams battling to no offense at all to couldn't get the ball rolling here to start off with. But a win's a win. They needed to win against Nebraska. They did. Wasn't pretty, wasn't glamorous, but fun. I mean, it certainly was good. Now they get into this. They got a non-conference 3 games coming up that are also going to be very, very tough. The Vikings.
North Carolina State looked good in their win also. They got them coming up for the Gophers.
Yes, and so that's coming up, I think, next month. They're going to be very tough or at the end of the week or end of the month.
North Carolina, not North Carolina State. I apologize.
North Carolina. Yep. So it's going to be some fun stuff for the Gophers. High school kicked off, Andy. Varsity sports are in full swing. Soccer matches, girls and boys are going. Football, volleyball, lots of things going on for sports. We'll start covering that a little bit more later. NFL kicks off this week, Thursday. The 3 exhibition games are done. The season kicks off. That Kansas City Chiefs, I think, are playing that Thursday night game.
Detroit Lions.
Against Detroit, yes. That should be good. A lot of good games there. And then Sunday, all the rest of the games. And then for Monday night, instead of having that 2 games, I think the second weekend they're going to do 2 games. But because September 11th falls on a Monday night, they are going to have that at New York. The Jets will play just a spotlight game at home. I'm not even sure who they play. I think it's Buffalo Bills, actually. But that's going to be Monday night. Because it falls on the 11th, September 11th, they're going to do a whole deal with that because of where it falls. So that'll be a big focus on New York City then. Monday. But boy, the Gophers, Vikings, things are kicking off here in full force. The St. Paul Saints have 3 series left, and then they're done. They're play 6-game series, 2 on the road, so 12 games on the road. They come home for 6. If they're in the playoffs, they are. If they're not, they're going to be done. So they're doing good. The nice thing I was going to say earlier with Andrew Stevenson coming up is that it also gives a spot now for another outfielder that hadn't been getting playing time to move up. I'm not putting any, no names in particular, but it just opens up that door now for these last 2 series that Stevenson's not there. Varlin has gone up. Cole Sands is coming back down. But the September call-ups help both the major league teams, and it also opens up the door for the AAA teams with 2 extra spots that people can get more playing time, more pitching, and more hitting. It benefits.
But the Twins and the Saints are in that rare bracket where the AAA team and the major league team are both in a playoff run.
They're both, yes.
It's like, man, we got the guys got us to play, but that's why you play minor league ball.
Are you going to see the Saints, take a dip with Stevenson out, Louis Varland out? I think Louis Varland was 7-1 pitching as a starter for the Saints, but they've got arms down there just as well. They've got guys that they can move around. So a lot of talent at all spots. It looks like Willie Castro came up today for the Twins. He's going to be back. And what they did, because they had no roster spots also to bring up Willie Castro. Michael A. Taylor in the outfield.
I like him.
Kind of a minor, but a hamstring injury. They said, you know what, let's make room. Send you down for 10 days, DL for 10 days, just to make room. Get better, get healthy. Taylor is phenomenal, really good. A great pickup in the offseason. And so in 10 days, they have to make now another move to see what are they going to do. But Castro's back. Castro is an all-purpose kind of a utility guy. And like I said, they got Stevenson, they got Wallner, they got the outfield all set. Buxton, when he comes back, is going to be in the outfield, it sounds like. Maybe DHing as well, but we don't know how that's all going to work out. But that's I think that's all I've got here for the show. I was going to touch on WNBA, but you grabbed that already. Mm-hmm. There's 2 games left for the Lynx. The rest of the teams in the playoff hunt in the next 2 weeks, or actually they're done here on Sunday. They have either 2 or 3 games left. Every team is down to their last 2 or 3 games left. So a week from tonight, we'll know the playoff hunt and the brackets.
I got a couple more notes about the Mets. Pete Alonso has his 3rd 40th home run season. He now has 3 of the top 6 numbers for the Mets for home runs in a season. He was also the 5th guy ever to have 3 or more 100 RBI seasons.
Okay.
Now, you say, but Andy, why do you still want to trade him? Well, he's batting .220. Yeah, 100 home run or 40 home runs, 100 RBIs are great numbers. But what are you doing with those other hits? Now, is he still advancing guys over and not getting the fielder's choice? Sometimes. But I'd like to see more, at least a 250 average, if we could do 40 and 100. But that's me.
Yeah, and that 250 is tough for all the teams. They're having a tough time. Right. People are typically hitting 220, 230, 240. You see that all around. 250 is great. But it's.
I mean, watch the All-Star game this year and next year. How many of those guys are batting below 250, but they're popular players? Sterling Marte is having surgery. He's out for the year. He'll be back next year. And one more thing I was going to touch on. I was going to make this a soapbox, but I don't really want to pad this with a soapbox. You mentioned the 9/11 games. And there's always been this fight in Major League Baseball. 10th, 11th, and 12th should always be a Subway Series with the Mets and Yankees. Oh, it's got to be this. I'm not wearing it today, but most of the time I got a Mets hat on. One of the Mets games this weekend. Bleed blue and orange. More than New York was involved on 9/11, boys and girls. DC got hit. Pennsylvania got hit. So why can't there be a game with the Washington Nationals all the time? Well, the Phillies and Pirates play a 3-game series at a time. Football's got to have their game in New York. Why can't one be in DC also?
Yeah.
That was more than New York was affected on 9/11. That's all. Not getting the whole politics of it all or who did what, why, or anything else.
Well, that's a good soapbox.
I'm sorry?
That is a good soapbox topic because it's all New York around the sports scene, but no other locations. They all have sports teams. Philadelphia.
DC does.
DC, Washington, Baltimore Ravens, Baltimore Orioles, DC, the Nationals, all these teams that are in that area. But the push has always been, the spotlight has always been New York City. So The
yes,
Giants,
they lost more
Giants
people,
are not
more
part of
damage.
but the Jets are. But the stadium hosts both teams, so they push it there to tie it in. And of course, the 11th, the way it falls, happens to be on the day this year.
Yeah,
but they
baseball
really
have the flexibility to always have that game, but
be nice to see the politics, I guess, behind that as far as why that is. Not saying it's bad, but why aren't the other teams in it? And once again, there's big bank there, big bank. Now, the last thing, Andy, I was going to say is Royce Lewis tonight hit another grand slam for the Twins.
Well, Royce 20-6, someone better hit one.
Royce Lewis,
they missed the extra point
on Twitter, is now in 11th place all time for the Twins grand slam hitting. And he's played 57 games with the Twins. Great stat. It's one of those fluke things. He's literally played, I think it's 57 games in a Twins uniform, and he has 3 grand slams. And he's now 11th on the all-time list for Twins players. I thought that was pretty good. Now,
they were on that long-term deal.
For those being serious now, the record for a rookie is 4. It's only been done one time in both the American or the National League. A couple of guys had hit 3, but there's a couple of weeks left of the season. If Royce hits his 4th grand slam, now granted, once again, you have to come up in situations where bases are loaded, and those could be few and far between, but for some reason he's coming up. So it could be interesting, but nonetheless, the record is 4. He could tie the record with a 4th or take the record with his 5th, but this is just phenomenal. Fun to watch. That's all I've got.
That's it.
Wait, we've got a trivia answer, Andy.
Oh, I tried to sneak that by you. Go ahead. Because I don't know the answer. I was trying to avoid it.
The beginning of the episode, we talked about Penn State joining the Big Ten in football. Big Ten, Penn State was added. The question is, what year were they added?
I'm going to guess and say 93.
Yes.
That's right? Okay.
That's actually correct.
I knew it was early 90s, so it's like, okay, 93 is in the middle of early 90s. I'll guess that one.
So get this, Andy. Anyone less than 33 years old or 30 years old, they've only known, you got to think of the kids in high school and college nowadays, they've only known a world where Penn State was always part of the Big Ten, which is so foreign for you and I to think of that it's, they got added. It was so weird to get my head around back
11 teams in the Big Ten.
11 teams, the Big Ten. Penn State came in later. Nebraska came in. Maryland, all these teams came in. It was so foreign to us, but that's been 30 years already. It was 30 years today. They played their first game in the Big Ten, and guess who they played, Andy? The Golden Gophers. They beat them 38-10 on this day 30 years ago in their first inaugural Big Ten game in football. Penn State has been in the Big Ten now for 30 years. Hard to imagine.
Feels like they just joined.
Seems so odd. But then again, talk to the youngsters. They'll roll their eyes by saying, I don't know a world where they were never in the Big Ten. But it is what it is. It's all going to change in 2024 when all the other teams come in. But that's a show for another day.
And I saw some guy put up a new logo, the Pac-12. So it's down to 2 teams right now. So they call it the Tupac.
Pac-12, Tupac.
The Tupac League.
It'll be interesting. Stuff.
Sure,
baseball season is closing up. Amateur baseball has ended now in the state of Minnesota. The Twin Cities annual fall season. Fall ball begins this coming Wednesday. That's a 12 to 14 game season. Amateur baseball. We'll be reporting on that as well. Have a good week, everyone.
Bye.